So it's the end of yet another week, and here on this channel that means one thing and one thing only. Every weekend I post an episode of this series we do called Your Take Not Mine, where I turn to you, the viewers, to give me your hottest NBA takes of the week based on what's going on at the time, and I then choose my favorite submissions to discuss them in a video. This week the voting for the All-Star Game by the fans came to a close, trade rumors continued to dominate headlines, and the MVP race started to really heat up with some unbelievable performances, so we definitely have a lot to discuss. In order to submit your takes, I make a community post on either the day of or the day before the video, similar to the one that you see on your screen now, so if you want a chance to be featured in a future episode, be sure to stay on the lookout for that. Before we start though, I want to thank PrizePicks for sponsoring this video. PrizePicks is the perfect service for all of us basketball fans here because when you're involved, it makes watching games every night so much more fun and engaging. Basically, it's an application that provides you with lines on all kinds of individual player props, such as points, rebounds, assists, and three-pointers made, and you simply have to choose whether you believe they will record over the set amount in the line or under the set amount in the line. Make your selections, wager however much you want to, and if your picks hit, you can win some big money. For some picks I'm looking at making for today's slate of games, I'm thinking of going with Luka Doncic to score over 25.5 points, Kyrie Irving to score over 23.5 points, and Patty Mills to make over 2.5 threes. If this sounds at all intriguing to you, then go use the link in the description of the video to sign up today and use promo code REFERENCE to receive a 100% deposit match bonus, up to $100. Once again, thank you to PrizePicks for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back into the topic at hand. The first take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Liam, and he says that despite what everyone is expecting, Ben Simmons will not be traded before the trade deadline this year, with a deal more likely coming in the offseason. The Ben Simmons saga seems to have new updates every week that tell you a whole lot of nothing, because despite all of it, he still has not been traded and is still not playing or practicing either. Combined with this, the Sixers currently have Joel Embiid playing the best basketball of his career lately, as he's been on a blistering streak, scoring 30 or more points in 14 of his last 16 games, with a 50-point game and two 40-point games included in that stretch. Embiid has for years now been the league's most dominant post player, as year in and year out he's posting up more often than anyone else, while also being more efficient down in the post than anyone else. But his development as a shot maker off the dribble, from three, and even in transition is legitimately putting him in the conversation for possibly being the best player in the whole league. Because of all of this, the common belief amongst fans is that the priority needs to be to get Joel reinforcements as soon as possible to get the Sixers around him back to a level where they can realistically contend, and trading Ben Simmons is the way to do that. It's a very reasonable ask, but at the same time, you can't rush a trade and simply just take anything back, because this trade will be what sets the Sixers up for the future outlook not only this season, but for the remainder of Joel Embiid's prime. I understand why people are frustrated with no trade being made yet, and why they will be even more frustrated if he's not traded by the deadline, but if the right fit isn't available right now, then they really have no choice but to wait it out. James Harden may be available in the offseason according to reports, Damian Lillard might become available in the offseason if he becomes unhappy. If the Celtics season goes south, reports have said they could look to make some big changes, and literally today, we saw a report saying that the Spurs may look to trade DeJounte Murray in the offseason too. So again, I get why the waiting game can be frustrating, but you don't rush a deal that may set the team back even further. The next take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Adam, and he says that trading Russell Westbrook isn't going to magically turn the Lakers season around, because they have way too many other problems that need to be addressed. So before the season began, the Lakers had a lot of expectations to become contenders in the West, and right now they just aren't. Russell Westbrook was their biggest acquisition of the offseason, and the hope was that he would help form a dominant big three with LeBron and Anthony Davis, but he has struggled mightily to fit into this squad. His turnovers have been killer on several occasions, he has a tendency to be aloof on defense, and all of that adds up to make it easy for him to be scapegoated for why the Lakers are where they are. Listen, I'm by no means excusing Westbrook's poor play, nor am I saying that he's not part of the reason why they're a disappointing team this year, but you're delusional if you think everything just magically gets resolved if he's moved. For one, his value on the open market to be traded has never been lower, so whatever they manage to get back in a trade for him will not just be the solution. The biggest worry before the year with the Lakers was that they're a team filled with over-the-hill talent, and wouldn't you know it, but that's exactly what has proven to be the case. DeAndre Jordan has been benched because of how poorly he's played, Anthony Davis was having one of his worst seasons before he got hurt, Talen Horton-Tucker isn't the rising star many Lakers fans thought he was, and LeBron has had to carry far too much of the load on both ends. Unfortunately, I agree with the take at hand here, because this is just an incredibly flawed team top to bottom, and there isn't simply one solution to turning things around for them. And finally, the last take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Thunder, and he says that Steph Curry doesn't get the same level of criticism as other stars in the NBA, along with quite a few points of how hypocritical the situation is. Now, if you read his entire paragraph, you'll see he's definitely coming off as a bit of a hater here. So right off the bat, I'll say he probably took things a bit too far and was definitely not completely on point, but the reason why I chose to talk about his take today is because he has partially a point here. Superstars in the NBA tend to get held to the highest standard possible. You can't have a bad week as a top-tier NBA player without a ridiculous amount of slander coming their way. Take, for example, James Harden's slow start to the season. People were literally running victory laps about him being quote-unquote washed, for only him to settle in as the season progressed, and he got back to producing at an elite level as the season went on. Steph, meanwhile, has been shooting it terribly for over a month now, and yet, according to Vegas sportsbooks, is still the betting favorite to win the MVP, which is completely absurd because there are so many more deserving candidates right now. In January, Curry is shooting 36% from the field and 30% from three, and they've lost 3 of their last 6 games. On top of that, last season, Curry and the Warriors literally missed the playoffs, and yet he was still a finalist to win the MVP award, which I can promise you would never ever happen for anybody else, because winning is always something held against the best players in the league if they're not doing it. LeBron James, for example, is in a very similar situation that Curry was in a year ago, carrying a struggling Lakers team with a mediocre 500 record as the Lakers currently sit in the play-in tournament section like the Warriors did last year, and he is getting zero MVP buzz whatsoever. So yes, Curry definitely does get preferential treatment by the media, and at times, it can be true that he's not held to the same standards that other greats are. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about the takes we discussed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.